Okay, a search in passing. It was already past 8 o'clock when Dad's colleagues, Uncle Tian and his wife, Aunt Wu, came to visit. They had not come for several months, and things were very different now. Mom did not make her famous soup, and Grandma did not make steamed buns. They barely greeted us children when they came in. Instead of loud, lively chatter and jovial laughter, their conversation was all hushed whispers. As soon as they mentioned the current situation, Dad told us to go downstairs and play with my little cousin Hua Hua. We went reluctantly. Hua Hua was sleepy and did not want to play patty cake or any of our usual games, but we stayed at my fourth aunt's apartment until we heard the footsteps going down the stairs. It was late. We were getting ready for bed when Dad talked to us. Children, tomorrow I want you to go to the park with Grandma. You'll have to take something for lunch. Grandma's been sick, I thought. Is it so she can rest? A picnic, Gian shouted. Oh boy. That's right, Dad answered. A picnic. His voice sounded odd somehow. You all go and have a good time. The morning was still relatively cool when we set off for the park, but the sun was bright and was sure to be hot before long. I carried a book in a bag that rattled with the dishes that we had packed for lunch. Jiyang and Jian skipped ahead, and we were already running across the grass by the time Grandma and I arrived. The park was almost empty. A few old men sat on benches playing chess, and in the shady places, some old people did Tai Chi exercises. We strolled around the lawn, and then Grandma picked a shaded bench and pulled out her knitting. You go ahead and play, she said. I'll be right here. Let's play tag, Jian said excitedly. We had not been to the park in ages, and the three of us raced around the nearly deserted paths having a wonderful time. We were evenly matched. Jian may have been the youngest, but she was very fast. Grandma called us to lunch. It was hot now. We gladly rested in the shade while she unpacked hard-boiled eggs and made sandwiches for us. We ate and shared a bottle of juice. We had laughed about a trip the whole family had taken to another park last spring when Ji Young had dropped the knife out of a rowboat, so we had to eat our apples without peeling them. Finally, Ji Young and Ji Yun laid down on some benches and went to sleep. I helped Grandma tidy up before sitting down to read my book. Grandma took out her knitting again, but did not set to work. Instead, she sighed and stared into space. Her face was pale. I put my hand on her shoulder. She turned to me and smiled a little. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I've just been worrying too much. She took my hand and patted it gently. Every time I hear drums and gongs, I'm afraid that they're coming to our house. My heart starts racing, and the closer they come, the worse it gets. Now, I'm just seeing poor old Qian kneeling on that washboard. I haven't been able to sleep. As soon as I close my eyes, I see the red guards coming in. I couldn't bear it if they made me kneel like that, or if they beat me. She smiled sadly. Your father and Uncle Tian thought this would help me relax. I can sit in the park all day, and even if the red guards come, I'll be safe here. What if the red guards are at our house when we get back? Your father thought of that too. Did you see the mop on the balcony? That's our sign. If the red guards come, the mop won't be there, and I'll know not to go in. I was intrigued by the idea of secret signs, but I was scared too. I glanced around to see if someone was watching us. It's not really much of a solution, Grandma went on. I can't stay here all night, and I can't even stay in the park every day for months. Really, I just hope that I'll get used to the situation and won't have to come here anymore. She shook her head sadly. A breeze blew a strand of hair over her ear, and I gently patted it into place. She had more gray hair, I noticed, and more wrinkles on her face. She doesn't seem like a landlord's wife, I suddenly thought. In the movies, the landlord's wife was ugly, cruel, and stupid. Grandma was beautiful, kind, and smart. I remembered coming home from kindergarten and showing Grandma the songs and dances we had learned. Grandma sat before us with her knitting, nodding her head in time to the music. Sometimes we insisted that she sing with us, and she would join in with an unsteady pitch and heavy Tianjin accent, wagging her head and moving her arms just as we did. When we were tired of singing, we would pester Grandma to show us her feet. When she was young, it was custom to tightly bind girls' feet in bandages to make them as small as possible, sometimes as small as 3 inches long. This was considered the height of a woman's beauty. Grandma's feet were half bound, and when she was only 7, she fought to have them released. As a result, her feet were much smaller than natural feet, but larger than bound ones. We loved to touch them and play with them. If she refused to let us, we would tickle her until she panted with laughter. All my friends loved coming to our home because she was so friendly. She had lived in our alley for over 30 years without a single disagreement with any of the neighbors. Everyone loved her and respected her. Dad had said that she had never been classified as a landlord's wife. She couldn't be, I told myself. Mom got home from work that evening looking nervous. She whispered to Dad and Grandma, and as soon as we finished dinner, she told us to go outside and play. We have something to take care of, she said. I knew this had something to do with the Cultural Revolution. I wish you would just say so. We were too old to be fooled like little children, but I didn't say anything. We went outside with the others. When it was nearly dark, Ji-Yun and I went back home, leaving Ji-Young with his friends. As we entered the apartment, I smelled smoke, acrid and choking. I looked around in alarm, but Grandma was sitting alone in the main room, showing no sign of worry. Grandma, is there a fire? We shouted anxiously. Don't you smell the smoke? Hush, hush. Grandma pulled us to her quickly. It's nothing. They're just burning some pictures. We looked puzzled. Your mother had heard that today photos of people in old-fashioned long gowns and mandarin jackets are considered forolds. So your parents are burning them in the bathroom. Can we go watch? I love looking at pictures, especially pictures of all those uncles and aunts I had never met. Grandma shook her head. I winked at Ji-Yun, and we both threw ourselves into her arms, begging and pleading. As always, she gave in and went to the bathroom door to ask Mom and Dad. Mom opened the door a crack and let us in. The bathroom was filled with thick smoke that burned our eyes and made us cough. Dad passed us a glass of water. We can't open the window any wider. The neighbors might notice the smoke and report us. Mom and Dad were sitting on small wooden stools. On the floor was a tin wash bowl full of ashes and a few pictures disappearing into flames. At Dad's side was a stack of old photo albums, their black covers stained and faded with age. Dad was looking through the albums page by page, tearing out any pictures that might be forolds. He put them in a pile next to Mom, who put them in the fire. I picked up one of the pictures. It was of Dad sitting on a camel when he was about 6 or 7 years old. He was wearing a wool hat and pants with suspenders, and he was laughing. Grandma, looking very young and beautiful, was wearing a fur coat, was standing beside him. Mom, this one doesn't have long gowns or anything, Gian said. Can we keep it? The Red Guards might say that only a rich child could ride a camel, and besides, Grandma's wearing a fur coat. She threw it into the fire. Mom was right, I thought. A picture like that was forolds. The flames licked around the edges of the pictures. The corners curled up and then turned brown. The brown spread quickly towards the center, swallowing Grandma, then the camel, and finally Dad's woolen hat. Picture after picture was thrown into the fire. Each, in turn, curled, melted, and disappeared. The ashes in the wash bowl grew deeper. Finally, there were no more pictures left. Mom poured the ashes into the toilet and flushed them away. That night, I dreamed that the house was on fire. By the third day, Ji-Young and Ji-Yun had tired of spending their days in the park, so they stayed home with our fourth aunt. I was bored too, but I wanted to keep Grandma company. So I brought a book and brought a pomegranate. Pomegranates had so many seeds that it took a good long time to eat, and I had plenty of time to spare. I sat on our usual bench, prying the juicy red seeds out of the fruit and slowly sucking on them one by one, staring at the fleecy white clouds. One cloud looked like a two-hump camel, and another looked like an old man whose long white beard nearly reached the ground. The camel was leading the long man slowly past. Grandma coughed and I looked at her, but she was staring into the distance. In the 3 months since the Cultural Revolution had started, changes had been so constant that I often felt lost. One day, the conservative faction were revolutionaries that defended Chairman Mao's ideas. The next day, the opposite rebel faction became the heroes of the Cultural Revolution. I heard that even Chairman of the Nation, Liu Shaoqi, and the General Secretary Deng Xiaoping were having problems. No one knew what would happen tomorrow. I wondered what I would be doing if I had been born into a red family instead of a black one, searching people's houses, hating landlords and rightists. Of course I would hate them. I hated them even now. I hated my grandfather, just as I hated all of Chairman Mao's enemies. But I had felt sorry for old Chan, even though he was wrong. And I did not know if I could hate Grandma if she was officially classified as a landlord's wife. The harder I tried to figure things out, the more confused I felt. I wished I had been born into a red family so I could do my revolutionary duties without worrying. When we got home, the mop was still hanging from the balcony. A week had passed and still nothing had happened. I waited anxiously, not knowing what I waited for. It was late in the afternoon. Ji-Young's been fighting again, Ji announced as soon as she saw him walk in. His t-shirt was covered with dirt, and one sleeve was half torn off. He carried a broken strap sandal. What happened? Grandma rushed in from the kitchen. They robbed me. They took my army cap. He wiped his face with his sleeve and angrily threw his sandal on the floor. Robbed you? You must have done something to upset them, I scolded. Why would anyone just grab your cap for no reason? You shouldn't be so ornery to people. Don't go making more trouble for us. How can you say that? I was just minding my own business, looking for crickets. They wanted to trade a cricket for my cap. When I said no, they just took it. Who were they? Do you know them? Ji nodded grimly. They won't get away with this, I swear. The army cap was one of Ji treasures. It wasn't one of the ordinary olive green caps you could just buy in the store. It was a real army cap that he had gotten from his friend Ming Ming's father, a Liberation Army veteran. It had been washed and sun bleached until it was nearly white, and anyone could see at a glance that it was the real thing. All the boys envied his cap. No wonder why he was so angry. Well, it's only just a hat. Forget about it. It's not worth stirring up trouble. Grandma took out her sewing kit to mend his shirt. Just wait, I'll get it back, he said, more to himself than to us. Chairman Mao didn't say that I can't wear an army cap. I turned to him attentively. What do you mean? Who said that you couldn't? They said it. They said, what's a black whelp like you doing with a real army cap? His eyes flashed with anger. Now I understood. Calling him a black whelp was the real cause of the incident. Of course, a boy like Ji would rather fight than take an insult like that. I wished I could protect him, but there was nothing I could do. I suddenly remembered that Annie's uncle used to be a mechanic in the army. Maybe he would still have an old cap. I decided to ask Annie about it. In a little while, Ji disappeared. I was sure he had gone to find his buddies Xiao Chang and Ming Ming. Xiao Chang and Ming Ming were our neighbors. Despite the fact that they were both 3 years older than Ji and all three of them attended different schools, the three boys were close friends. In our alley, they were known as the Three Musketeers because they were always together. Xiao Chang's father had been our district superintendent. Now he was suspended and under investigation for being a capitalist follower. Ming Ming's father had been a party secretary of the Shanghai Institute of Political Science and Law and had been under arrest at the institute for several weeks. He had been accused of being a traitor.